Now, with such an egregious title, I'm not just going to give away the one thing that every masterful improviser does. I'm going to make you see it for yourself. Okay? Got two examples here. Two examples. Okay? First one, Miles Davis, So What? Okay? Listen to what he does first, and then we're going to triangulate it with another example. I guess I'll do 3 examples. For triangulation, listen. All right, did you figure it out yet? Well, it's going to be easier when you hear Alan Holdsworth do it. Okay, second example. Devil take the hindmost. Have you figured it out yet? It's call and response. It's phrasing in this dualistic way. All of your phrases can be seen within that framework. Now, I know from experience that if I focus my attention on call and response, everything I play begins to make a whole lot of sense. Now, you'll notice these 2 examples that I showed, they're both modal examples, right? They don't have a lot of chord changes. They have static harmony. So really go down the rabbit hole with me here. The static harmony concept. It's like, how do we deal with static harmony?
Don't you just talk about triads all the time? How does that relate to static harmony?
Call and response is the underlying principle. See, call and response is the very thing that makes a modal progression function. The musicians thinking about call and response makes a modal progression function. Now, what's really interesting about those 2 examples with Miles and Holdsworth, you see the interpretation spectrum of the framework, right? That's why my expression when I listen to Holdsworth right after listening to Miles Davis, it's just like ripping your face apart because you can understand it. Like, it's like, oh, he's just playing insane call and response. And in both examples, the musicians are relying on that call and response phrasing to keep the form coherent. Because since the harmony's not moving, it's even more important that your phrasing implies the sequence of 4-bar phrases. The sequence of 4-bar phrases. Like, you got a phrase with 4 bars in mind. Call and response is the huge thing. Because it doesn't matter what number you're thinking of. You can technically phrase anything with sequences of 4. So you got 4 blocks of 21, for example, like Tempest. phrased in 4. You can still call and respond over it. But in this example, there's not a whole lot of things going on, right? Like, think about this, right? Classic story, well documented. Miles wrote all the songs for Kind of Blue like the night before or the morning of the session. Obviously, just in God mode of jazz mentality, Miles just scribbles some forms on some staff paper, not overthinking the process because he knows, well, I literally have the best guys in the whole business. They're going to do all the work. And this is like deep jazz core mentality. And what does that literally come down to? Is like, there's not a whole lot of material going on So What? So he's literally banking on the musicians to play those phrases, to play 4s. And the danger with a tune like that is getting lost, where it's literally A, B, A, but A is all D minor, second A is all D minor, B is all E flat minor, like New Millennium Uprising, right? And then back to the last A, just D minor. Like that is, dude, do you understand Miles's brain? Like, dude, you like literally like, that's like a Tool level. Like, think about the end of 46 and 2, okay? It's just dumbed down to the most essential basic. That's what this form is. It's comically, monstrously genius. And I'm 99% sure Miles is the OG So What champion. Later you have Impressions, but Impressions came after So What. So What is the first like basic first principle A, 2 cut, 2 deep, can't even describe it. You have to understand what I'm saying. You understand it yet? Look at it. Look at that, dude. Do you get it? Do you get it? Rhythm changes, like A, like color, other color. We're talking about macro calls and macro responses. The spectrum of call and response is as infinite as you can sort of see. And this is kind of where you actually transcend music, because macro frameworks go beyond the confines of lead sheets, if you know what I'm saying. Like albums, lifetimes. You know, getting super intergalactic right there, but bringing it back in. Like, you have to understand, like, the simplicity of this form requires that first principle call and response mentality. Understand the key to form mastery has everything to do with that call and response mentality. When there's more chords, in some ways that's easier. Do you understand? The obvious question, ancient of days question, when you don't have a lot to work with in the form, all you have is the form itself and respecting its cycle. And the way that you do that is by focusing on call and response. So look at this. I'm going to focus on call and response. I'm going to apply the mentality of call and response. And you will hear the form come to life right here. It's going to require you to pay attention. This goes back to taking responsibility, right? Undeniable, took full responsibility. This is a mental exercise. Understand, this is not about sounding good. It's about keeping form. You have to start to understand that you awaken the inner master when you start to focus on call and response. When you focus on those higher level concepts. It assumes that you've already done all your work. It assumes you know all this that I kept doing. You got to know all that. I'm literally playing all the notes that function against that key. That's a nice one right there. Got to make sure you don't play that F sharp. Right? But when you literally have that material, all you're going to do is focus on the rhythm of that beautiful once you have all that stuff under your fingers, you're now thinking about that call and response. So you see what the practice becomes. You got to get in there, you got to do the work, you got to find those pathways, you got to do that fretboard research, and then you think about call and response. This is so easy for people to miss because it really is at the top of the pyramid right there. Beneath that is the entire realm of technique and theory, which is people can lose their lives in there before ever seeing that pinnacle. And it seems like it should be easy, but the reason it's not is because there's so much psychology that's going into it, right? Like part of the reason why it's so difficult to play a flawless live solo is because you're focused on all the wrong things, right? You're focused on any mistakes that you might make, and that rattles the concentration, the call and response infrastructure breaks down, you freaking lost them. There's a reason why Kind of Blue is the greatest commercial success of all jazz. But I think there's a lesson right there. You're just keeping the audience's attention. And it's the same that's true with that Holdsworth example. What's keeping our attention is the call and response. You understand, like, the concentration of the musicians is the very thing that we as the listener latch onto. And you got to start to be aware of that train wreck mentality, right? Jazz musicians and improvisers understand this, right? You're always on the brink of disaster. Alan Holdsworth understood this. He talked about this extensively. Miles Davis, every masterful improviser. A great improviser keeps our attention because we don't want to miss the train wreck, right? And they keep it going and they don't wreck the train, at least as far as we can see, right? Because as we know, there could be a discrepancy between what they played and what they meant to play, but we don't know that, right? So that brink of disaster as an improviser runs on a few levels right there. But it ultimately serves to engage the listener. Keep that continuity of call and response as the guiding principle, and that's gonna allow a lot of mistakes or discrepancies to be made. And where do those discrepancies come from? They come from when the musician is just gambling right outside of their technique, but they're anchored to that call and response logic, right? So if they fail, they can fix it with the very next thing they play. They can legitimize something that they played, like Miles Davis 101. You can legitimize anything with the very next thing that you play. So if you live in that world, you can gamble deep and you can get to a Holdsworthian level. This is an intergalactic space vessel passing through a wormhole on the brink of disaster. And Holdsworth just keeps it together. He's like, dude, I got this. Even if I make a mistake, I don't make a mistake. I don't believe in mistakes. That's the call and response power. The power is given to you when you can focus on the call and response because you learn your pathways. You knew all your rhythmic subdivisions. You can align all your pathways to rhythmic subdivisions. That frees you to now focus on the call and response. Let's try that on that Holdsworth feel. So you made it to this point in the video, this stuff is making sense to you. You're gonna wanna start with Intro to Fretboard Mastery. That is my free course, and that's prerequisite to my entire methodology. You wanna take that free course, you wanna see if that makes sense to you. If it makes sense to you, and you got those 3 range optimized pathways under your fingers, you're starting to see how it connects to voice leading, that would mean you're ready to join my program, which is based on a 5-step to mastery syllabus, what I call the roadmap to mastery. And you'll see step 1 is the hardest, right? So step 1 presupposes you've gone through my intro course, because that intro course provides you with a fretboard visualization concept that accounts for the entire range of the guitar. Then once the entire range of the guitar is opened up to you, well, then we can just put chords on it. We can put all the triad configurations. You can start to play rhythmic rudiments through the pathways that we've developed. So if you're dead set on becoming a masterful improviser, I can honestly tell you my course is probably the best one you're gonna find anywhere. So like I said, start with Intro to Fretboard Mastery. If you've already gone through it, then you're ready to join, and you'll blast through this thing. You'll be able to make the most out of your one-on-one lessons with me, the group classes, which are 3 times per week, and of course the full course library. You literally have no excuse not to achieve mastery.